conditions. I always say that, the biggest thing is we just have to handle it better than our opponent because they have to deal with it as well. And if it's extreme, then we have to make, adjustments. I don't know if it'll be extreme. Certainly the weather doesn't look great. The forecast doesn't look very promising. So, we're starting to talk about, some of the ideas and thoughts in all three phases. But that's why, you plan like this and you have balance in game planning, because in November, the weather is unpredictable in the Big Ten.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, Tim May, and then Austin Ward on deck. Tim.
Thank you very much, Gary. Ryan, after Ohio State beat Penn State at Penn State in 2014, Joey Bosa said there was a palpable change to that team. It was like they really became a team that night. They fought adversity, won in 2 overtimes, et cetera. You guys were behind in the second half in that game the other day, and it had the explosion in the fourth quarter. Do you feel something a little bit different about this team? Not that, it takes you anywhere except from a feel-good standpoint, but do you feel anything different about this team than you did a week ago after passing that test?
I think we feel a sense of, that was a good road win that we had identified early on that we knew it was going to be a challenge. We don't really look at it like that this time of year. We focus on each opponent as they come, but during the bye week and, during preseason camp, we look at the schedule and we talk through what it's going to look like to go reach our goals. And we knew that was going to be a hard game to go on the road. We talked about what it usually entails. We talked a little bit about the history of the game, what's gone on during that game. And, for us to win the way we did after talking about it in the offseason and the prep that went into it, there's a sense of accomplishment there. But, we haven't reached our goals. We haven't even checked one off yet. So, the focus has been on what practice was going to be like this week. Because you got to be consistent. You got to keep coming because it's about competitive stamina. And going into Northwestern, we got to continue to get better than we did the week before. And the two things we've been focused on is energy and execution. And we saw that in these last 2 days of practice. So we got to go put another one together here.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
All right. Next up is Austin Ward with Dan Hope on deck. Austin.
Ryan, it seems kind of hard to believe that you could get into November and have never had a full strength group of cornerbacks or full strength secondary. Maybe if you get Cam back on Saturday, you could have that heading into November. How frustrating has it been to manage that throughout the previous 2 months? Or how exciting is it maybe that you could have that when it matters more in the weeks ahead?
Well, I look across, college football and there are injuries across the country. There's nothing more frustrating than having to deal with injuries as a coach. But it's unfortunately part of the game. And, we have the best sports medicine department here, and our trainers and doctors are excellent. Our sports science and what we do to prevent injuries is excellent, but it's the game. And it's hard. Is it frustrating? Sure, it's frustrating. But that's why we build depth. And I think that a lot of guys have played this year, and guys have had to step up. And hopefully, like you said, that gives us a boost here in November as we work towards full strength.
All right. Next up is Dan Hope with Joey Kaufman on deck. Dan.
Ryan, you talked about Mason Arnold on the radio show. Are you expecting him to be the long snapper for the rest of a year, or is there still a chance you guys could get Bradley back?
Expectation is for him to be the long snapper. Max LaMonaco will also travel this week, and we'll see how both of those guys do. But the expectation is, for those guys to be the long snappers this year for the rest of the way.
Joey Kaufman's up with Jared Smalley on deck. Joey.
Ryan, as far as the rainy weather goes for this weekend, have you done anything in practice, like to drill that, or anything you can do, wet ball drills or anything like that?
Yep. So, in terms of the wind, we practice in the wind. It's been very windy the last few weeks here. We've had some really windy days. And we played the game up in East Lansing, and it was right about 22 mile an hour winds at times. This one's calling for more than that, so we'll have to adjust. But we practice in that weather. This week, in terms of the water, We do have wet ball drills where we squirt water on the ball before the snap, just to get that feel for it. If you do it too much, the ball starts to get, heavy and can affect the quarterback's throwing motion. We don't want to do that, but we do mix it in there. And, and then we also practice in the elements so that when days like this come up, that we're able to handle it.
Jared Smalley up with Bill Landis on deck. Jared.
Hi, Ryan. In talking to Paris and Dewan last night in particular, they sounded very prideful about wanting to reestablish themselves as a dominant run team. And they sort of alluded to the work that's been done this week specifically to get themselves back to that point. Can you just guide us a little bit on the commitment that you're seeing out of them to becoming more dominant up front and getting back to running the ball the way that you want?
Yeah, no, their approach this week has been good. I think they've had a little bit of an edge to them. That really hasn't changed, though. I've been very impressed with the way they've been practicing. But there has been an edge to them this week, which is great, coming off a win like that. What does it come down to? Again, it comes down to energy and execution, having the energy to go out there and practice really hard, going out there and executing the plays at a high level. It takes all 5 guys and then some to execute in the run game. And then obviously the running back has to make his read. So a lot that comes with it, but I think it's not only in the run game, but it's also in the pass game. I thought the protection work has been solid this week as well. And that's all you can do is just get back to work and keep pushing.
We'll go Bill Landis with Nathan Baird on deck. Bill.
Hey, Ryan, the way that CJ and Marvin were able to kind of sight adjust some of those completions they had against Penn State, is that all on them? How much communication is there from the coaching staff when you're trying to see that stuff? And how much does that speak to the trust between the two of them that they were able to do that?
I thought it was unbelievable execution in that game. We were trying to see if we get the ball on the perimeter against some of those zero looks where they had an extra guy coming on the blitzes on third down and try to get the ball to the perimeter on some of those plays. Didn't quite go. And so then plan B was, like you said, some of those slants that have to adjust based on the coverage. And the way that those guys did that was excellent, especially in that moment to do that and to make those plays. It was very, very well done. We work on things like that, during the whole off season. And you never know when quite you're gonna need it when someone's showing zero pressure on third down like that. And job well done by those guys.
Nathan Baird up with Spencer Holbrook on deck. Nathan.
Ryan, I know that sometimes when guys are thinking about being head coaches someday, they start putting together kind of a wish list of guys that they've worked with that they want to have on staff someday. Was Justin Fry somebody who, from your time earlier together, would have been on that list for you? And if so, what was it about your interactions in those years that made you think of him that way?
Yeah, worked with Justin early on and saw him first off as a person and who he is in terms of his ability to relate to people and players and his family. He's a great man. Played the position at Indiana, played in the Big Ten, and was very good. His dad was a high school coach, so had coaching in his blood. But then it was just the understanding of the run game and how it all fits, and his intelligence, ability to teach. And then when he was at UCLA, he was in a coordinator position where it wasn't just about the front; it was the entire picture. And I think anytime you have somebody like that who can see the entire picture, it brings a lot of value.
All right, and then questions 9 and 10 will come from Spencer Holbrook and Clay Hall. Spencer.
Ryan, a lot of people found out who JT was on Saturday, probably found out how to pronounce his name too. But for him to have a game like that and now be on the map like he is, do you have any conversations with him, or is he enough of a pro to understand, the expectation won't be 2 interceptions every game, but also he's going to start to gain more recognition as he goes.
Yeah, and like you said, I think he deserves it. He's been playing this way for a few weeks now. Just didn't quite maybe have the number of plays based on the way the games turned out, or just the way that the plays shook out. I mean, he was close on a lot of them. And so, like you said, guys are going to know where he is now, but I think that's why, you want to have balance in your D-line room. If they're going to slide one way, then they got to deal with, some other guys on the inside, or maybe, Zach Harrison and Jack Sawyer on the other side. So that's why you want balance across the board in the D-line room. But certainly he did open up a lot of eyes on Saturday.
All right, and we'll finish up with Clay Hall. Go ahead, Clay.
Hey, Ryan, given your prep for the game, it sounds like you wouldn't necessarily alter your game plan because of weather. And do you have enough running backs in case you have to be a mutter on Saturday?
Yep, just went over the travel list and feel like we'll have enough running backs. But again, it just
I think we might have lost him.
Clay's question broke the internet.
Yeah. Clay, why don't you just finish his question there?
Yeah, right. Well, I guess we got the first part.
There you go.
Run with it, Clay. Run with it.
I'm a little groggy today. I'll get you tomorrow. All right.
All right.
Is that a wrap?
Well, I guess that's a wrap for Coach Day. Let's just go with that since we were 9.5 through. I see Coach Holtmann's on right now. If we want to get started with him.
Oh, Jerry says his computer died.
There you go. Good. Well, that's a natural.
I'm glad it didn't die 10 minutes earlier.
That's a natural wrap to the lightning round. So let's go ahead and see Coach Holtmann on. We'll go ahead and get started. He's going to preview the Robert Morris season opener here, kind of wrap the preseason, and we'll go ahead. Steve Hellwagon, get us started here, and we'll go with Griffin Strom on deck. Let's see. What's first? Is Coach on? Not quite yet. Either way, Steve, you're going to start us when he.
I'll be ready. I won't let you down.
All right, there's Coach. All right, Steve Hellwagon, how about get us started? Griffin Strom, you'll be on deck.
Okay. Well, hey, Coach, thanks for doing this. Question I have to start out with, Bryce Sensabaugh, just watching him play the other day. Obviously, we know he was your leading scorer. Bahamas may have been in that scrimmage you had as well. Just seemed like he was maybe rushing through things a little bit at times and getting out ahead of his skis a little bit, and that's going to be normal for all your freshmen. Just what are you wanting to get out of him? And it seems like his rebounding an area as his offense is starting to come along, that rebounding is an area where he could help you.
Yeah, it's going to be rebounding is going to be really important for him, Steve. And I think you nailed it. You nailed it with him. I think those experiences are normal for freshmen, especially guys that scoring has come so easy for them. And he's a natural born scorer. It's what he does. But I do think that he's got to let it naturally come to him a little bit more than what he did last time out. That won't be the last time that we see Bryce struggle in some of those areas in terms of forcing the issue. I think he's got to find that balance between staying really aggressive and letting it happen. The big things, I don't worry about his scoring. He's going to be able to do that for us for sure. As you mentioned, he's got to be able to rebound and defend at a really high level for us as a freshman. That's what we're asking of him right now.
Just as a follow-up, Robert Morris looks like a veteran team. Only won 8 games last year, but it looked like they've got maybe 4 of their 5 starters back. Just what have you seen out of them? Have you had anything on them in a scrimmage or exhibition leading up to this first game?
Yeah, we have not been able to see them. They've not. They don't have any video out right now outside of last year. But yeah, I think you're right. They're expected to be.
What does it feel like?
Are we good, Gary? Okay.
Yeah, now we're good. Had to
All
get Clay. Clay was unmuted there. We were hearing everything in the background. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So, listen, I think it's going to be a good, first game for us. Veteran group, as you mentioned, they have a local young man who played in Gahanna that is a very good player for them. And by all accounts, I think they're expected to really have a good year. So we're excited about that challenge, and the prep has begun here in these coming days leading up to Monday.
Thanks a lot.
All right, we'll go with Griffin Strom and then Jared Smalley on deck. Griffin.
Yeah, Coach, I know you were disappointed in the rebounding effort in the exhibition. I'm wondering, was that also a concern that showed up in your guys' scrimmage? And then maybe, what was your message to your guys after that, and how might you be stressing that differently moving forward?
Griffin, it didn't show up as much in the scrimmage. I think it's more, I think when you have so many new faces in a young group, you're trying to project a little bit of what you feel like some team weaknesses could be and really drill down on those. So it's a bit of a projection on my part, and it's also been a byproduct of some results in practice and obviously this exhibition. I just think team rebounding is going to have to be something that we're going to have to really focus in on for sure. That, as well as how connected that is to our defense and getting first time rebounds. So I don't know. We didn't get as exposed in that area in the scrimmage. There were some other areas defensively that we did, but I think that's going to be a focal point all year.
And then your thoughts on Felix's performance, maybe both in the scrimmage and the exhibition. I don't know if we heard a whole lot from you about him after the exhibition the other day.
Yeah, no, I think Felix is coming along. I mean, he's coming along. I think we're going to see moments that are really exciting, as the case with all four freshmen that play. I think you're going to see some really exciting moments. I think our fans are going to see some moments where they're like, wow, that's a really exciting play that he makes. Felix, this combination of size, length, and athleticism I think is a really special. I think he's so young in this process as a big kid. And I think he's learning so much, and he's going to have to learn at a pretty rapid pace here, because he is going to be, obviously expected to play an important role. But been really pleased with his attitude, approach, and growth.
All right, we'll go with Jared Smalley with Stephen Means on deck. Jared.
Hey, Chris, I think if people saw Tanner last year in the tournament, or, they saw him play a regular season game, they understood his prowess scoring the basketball. And then if you watched the game the other night, you saw a good bit of that, especially at the end of the half there, when he kind of got rolling pretty well. Can you walk us through his preseason, the habits that he's been able to bring with him that you think lead to that type of player?
Yeah, Jared, I think, Tanner had a good night. I obviously I don't want to, it was against an opponent where there was a difference just in terms of talent. I think as he gets to, just a situation where we're playing Division I opponents, and obviously, I think for him, consistency is going to be key. He did struggle. He would tell you that he struggled in the scrimmage. And I think what has impressed me about Tanner, among other things, has been the fact that he's pretty serious-minded, Jared, in his approach and his focus. And I think he came back with the mindset of, hey, I've got to be better than what I was, for this group. He's had some moments dating back to the summer where he's been good. I think the consistency, for a guy who's a junior, who we're going to lean on, is going to be really important, because he is going to be a guy that we're going to have an expectation of consistency. And he's performed really, really well in stretches. And our challenge is for him just to perform at that consistent level like we know he's capable of.
All right, and then we'll go with Stephen Means and Patrick Murphy on deck. Stephen.
Chris, kind of two things for starters. Are you expecting to have Justice and Eugene back on Monday?
Yeah, Steven, I don't know at this point, to be honest with you. I think maybe I'd have a better idea. I probably would have a better idea on Sunday. But I just, at this point, I don't know on either guy. I really couldn't give you a firm answer on either guy right now in terms of their play on Monday night.
And you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but you've had freshmen before, you've had transfers before, but to have this combination of this many new guys, this many freshmen that you're going to have to rely on in your top 8 or 9 or 10 man rotation, are you having to remind yourself sometimes to be patient with this? And do you expect that you'll have to do that at various stops along the way, whether it's in the non-conference or especially when we get into the conference?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question. I think I've had to remind myself and our staff of that throughout the preseason and throughout the summer. And I think there's a balance there as a coach, Stephen, because there is an expectation of how we want to work and what our approach needs to be on a consistent basis, and holding ourselves and our players and our program accountable to that. And yet at the same time, the understanding that many of these guys are going through this for the first time, and they're being asked to play a significant role in our team, from our 4 freshmen to our 3 transfers. And we're also asking more of those few returning guys that we have, that roles are going to need to increase. So I do think I've had to remind myself of that a number of times. I think I'm also trying to find the balance between driving, appropriately driving them to a level of consistency, and yet understanding that there's going to be areas that we're just not there yet as a group.
All right, we'll go with Patrick Murphy and then Adam Jardy. Patrick.
Chris, to follow up on your answer to Steven's question, just the excitement level of these guys to play their first real game in college basketball, to play their first game as Buckeyes, for the transfer guys and the guys, as you mentioned, stepping into big roles. What do you get the sense is their excitement heading into the season opener?
Yeah, I think they're really excited. I think they're really excited, Patrick. I think they've, they know that they have, they've been waiting for this moment. These guys, as is the case in most sports, they commit, a year, 2 years, year and a half out. And they've been waiting for this moment. I think there was definitely some nerves the other night, which is a good thing. There'll be nerves on Monday night, for this group, more so probably than we've ever had, just because of so many new guys. But I think they're really excited. They're really excited about wearing the uniform. We've really stressed all off season about the privilege of that. And I think they're very aware of that. And they're excited. They're excited about performing in front of our fans and starting, this journey together.
And what about you personally? Excitement, nervousness, anticipation? What would you say you're feeling heading into it, given all the newness?
All that, Patrick. Yeah, all that. Certainly all that. I think, probably more of all that because of this group, all that wrapped into one, just more of it. Because when you have certain knowns, and we have the last couple of years just kind of had more guys on the roster where you're like, okay, I pretty much know what we're going to get from an EJ or, CJ Walker, who's a veteran point guard. So I think more of all that, I think, for all of us.
All right, we'll go with Adam Jardy and then Spencer Hobuck. Adam.
Chris, you've talked about stressing guys first time that they're going to wear the jersey, and really emphasizing that to these guys. I wonder if you could maybe just expand on that process, and is that something, I'm sure you talk about that with every team, but was that different this year with so many new faces? Did you feel that was something you had to emphasize differently?
I think it's more just, there's a bit more of an education to that specific process of educating them on, they learn about our program in recruiting, but it's really about, okay, this is our program. They've seen the success of the program, and then also what can the program provide for them in terms of creating a great future. I think now that they're here, you're trying to help young people understand that they're playing for something bigger, a larger purpose. And as you move into the season as a team, that has been the focus. So we've obviously done what we've always done in terms of connecting them with alumni throughout the summer, through our pro week, as well as just our alumni being around. I've asked several alumni to share what their experiences were in a Buckeye uniform. I'll continue to do that. We're starting to have our players, see some of just what guys that might have played 10, 15, 20 years ago, kind of their experiences. So I think all that is part of the education for a new group and a new team. And I know a lot of programs are doing that just because of the nature of college basketball right now.
And you said something after the game where you trying to stress to guys that there are things that you're going to have to let go a little bit because they're learning, but effort is not one of them. As you've worked on that lesson with guys, and as you preach that to guys, do you show examples from previous players, previous teams of consistency when it comes to effort and what that looks like?
We have, yeah, we certainly have. I think as much as now we certainly have, and we will throughout the preseason. We also want the focus to be on this group, and specifically these guys that we're coaching. But we certainly have used past examples of teams and players for sure. Yeah, that is, as I mentioned, I think as a coach, we cannot complicate this too much with our group. We have to do simple, and we have to do simple better and consistently well. I think to be able to to have a good start and then grow from there.
All right, and then we'll finish up with Spencer Holbrook. Spencer.
Chris, you guys got 3 games before you head to the islands. Before you take off on that long plane ride, what do you need to learn from this group before you feel comfortable and confident getting on that plane, going to the islands, then coming back and facing Duke on the road?
A lot. I think a lot. I think I know, people like to look ahead in terms of what's coming next. And these, for us, it's really about the moment and staying in the moment. And we need to have good preparation tomorrow, good practice these next couple of days for Robert Morris. I think is, the exciting thing for having a group like this is just what can we, basketball's a long season. It's several months. It's 6-7 months of a season. So what can we grow into? But if we lose sight of the value of each day, we're not gonna have any hope of getting to where we need to. So I think the key is staying in the moment. And the exciting thing about a new group is you really do learn, even ourselves as coaches who are with them all the time, you really do learn something new about your group every day when you have this many new faces and this many young players. So that's a really exciting thing for a coach.
You're a really process-oriented guy. You like to take it day by day. I think most coaches do, but is it a little easier to do that when you have a younger group? You don't have an EJ right now. You don't have a Malachi that maybe could become a superstar like that. You don't have veteran point guards. Like, is it easier to stay in the moment when you really kind of have some unknowns still?
I think it's always a challenge, honestly, to stay in the moment. If for myself, I don't want to speak for other coaches, but I think we're just, it's always a challenge to not project, what we are today into what it could be or what happened yesterday to the next moment. I think there's a mental discipline required for that. That's not easy for any of us who are kind of into performance and trying to perform at a high level. I think it's a challenge for all of us. It's certainly for me. But hopefully we'll do that with this group because I think it's going to be important.
All right, Coach. Thank you. Anybody else have a follow-up or anything? All right, Coach, appreciate time.
One. Adam, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, if I could throw one more out there, just because I wanted to ask you I was thinking back, your first game as the Ohio State coach was against Robert Morris. And now it's interesting to me that on a team with so many new faces, their first game is against Robert Morris. Have you reflected at all or flashback at all to what it was like for you to play to coach your first game at Ohio State?
I actually have that ball up here in my office. I haven't yet, Adam. I've not yet thought about that, but I know, that'll be really excited for those guys. I'll be really excited for those guys to play for their first game. I know I was really excited and continue to be. That's the beauty of a new season and a new opportunity is it comes with a lot of excitement and some nerves, and that's true for coaches and players. But at some point I'll reflect back on that.
Thanks.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, everyone. Hopping on here, a little throw around curveball there.
Yep,
For those
Gary,
going
thanks
up
a lot.
to Evanston, safe travels up there.